I've got a few names to throw at you. What do you make of these names? They're all famous characters from TV comedy shows. Basil Fawlty, George Costanza, Sideshow Bob, Hot Lips Houlihan, Claire Dunphy, and what's a chachi? What's a chachi? Tonight we are zooming in on the top 5 best TV comedy shows of all time, and my expert panel have come up with a list that is absolutely, it just cannot be disputed. Matt, Tracy, Michelle, Alira, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Now, look, I've been criticised tonight. I'm just going to throw it out there, and I'm quite crushed that my 3 suggestions were all scoffed at today and have not been included in tonight's list.
I don't think that we scoffed.
Well, what's wrong, Tracy? What is wrong with Growing Pains? Who's the boss and Leave It to Beaver? Why aren't they on the list?
I could agree with 2 of them, and not about Leave It to Beaver.
We're going to dive straight into it. Our top 5 best comedies of all time on TV, and I think we should start with The Simpsons, everybody. Do we all agree that should be on the top 5?
It's been on a long time, so
it's like
I think
about
so.
25 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Is it still the same quality, Matt, as it was?
There's still the jokes and the humour in it, but they have said over the last few years that the show's sort of, the quality of it sort of dropped off a little bit.
It's moved away from a narrative, like the story isn't as important as the jokes these days.
Yeah, and you half the time you think, well, they're up to like 500 odd episodes, you think, how can they come up with more new material and that? And
every day there's a saying from The Simpsons that you can apply to so many different situations.
Who's your favourite character?
Well, that's a tough one.
I like Marge the best.
Why do you like Marge? No one says Marge.
Oh, Marge is just one of those kind of, you know, iron fist in a velvet glove type of people. You know,
what's with the hair?
Oh, the hair's just... Yeah, actually, I wonder about the hair too. But did you ever see that episode where she became a police officer?
Oh, yeah.
And she came home in the blue pants, a tight white T-shirt, and her hair was pulled back low under a cap, and she was
sexy,
hot.
wasn't she?
Sexy mama, yeah. I'm like, Marge has got to go on.
I think she ends up arresting Homer in that episode.
yeah.
I think that's what he says. Should it come to an end? I'm interested to know. A lot of people say The Simpsons should just fall away. And Alira, you're our younger generation tonight. Is The Simpsons overdue for an axing?
Well, there's so many episodes. I find that, like, I haven't seen all the episodes. You sort of sit down and it happens to come on TV, and quite often I'll sit down and be like, oh, I haven't seen this episode, so I don't know that they really need more.
Well, with 25 years of episodes behind them, they could just keep playing them forever.
Yeah.
So the golden rule is if Alira hasn't seen all the episodes, don't bother making any more until she's caught up, yeah?
The bit I really love on The Simpsons is right at the start in the intro, reading the different things that Bart writes on the blackboard.
Or the couch gag.
Yeah, that's
like armpit farting is not homework. Yeah, things like that. And it comes up so quick, you've got to really keep an eye out for it.
What do you think, our listeners out there, what other shows should be added to the official top 5 list of best TV comedies of all time? Our number here at Time to Talk, 6585 3456. Now, we've got some honourable mentions. What are some of your favourite comedies, Michelle?
One of my all-time favourites is MASH.
Oh, you've just spoiled. Isn't that on the top 5?
No, you wouldn't let me have it.
I think it is on the official top 5. You've just ruined the show. You've ruined the show.
Okay, I've
let
let
me
the cat
now.
out of the bag.
You're out the bowl.
Sorry about
That's all right.
that.
Talk about MASH. I've got a thing against MASH because my brother used to watch it episode after episode after episode, and the music used to make me feel physically ill. Thank you. Physically ill.
Well, you'll hate
They
me
don't seem to
because I've got the big box set of home of the whole.
You've got the box set?
Yeah, the big all 11 seasons of it, and
So, Matt, what's up with this Hot Lips Houlihan? What's all that about?
she was the female love interest of Frank Burns, yeah, and pretty much everybody.
And Hawkeye Pierce.
And Hawkeye, I mean, the stuff they used to do to her, and you knew it was coming, but you see the reactions on Alan Alda's face, you would be laughing probably a minute or two before it even happened, and
Lots of anticipation in a good comedy, isn't
there
there?
was a lot of humour. They used to pick on Frank Burns a lot, and that was half the charm of the show, and just a lot of the characters.
I think
too.
you had Klinger who
used to dressed up
to try and get out
of the army, and it was a good show. Look, there was a lot of humour, but there was also some serious moments in it. The one episode that most people remember was when McLean Stevenson's character, he played Colonel Blake. That episode when he was killed off.
That was really.
Hang on, this is meant to be a comedy. They really killed the character off.
But
should this even be on our list?
It's in the middle of a war.
Sounds rather depressing.
It's a war, and
Hogans Heroes was in the middle of a war. Nobody got killed off in that.
Funny.
That was funny.
That was real comedy.
I've got that at home too. God help.
I know nursing.
What did you like about it, Michelle? What was it about MASH that appealed to you?
I liked it was sort of a different format in that it wasn't in a studio with really overly scripted dialogue. Like they were all outside. Just the setting of it, I thought, was different to most comedies of its time, where they were just obviously in a studio with a fake set behind them and the canned laughter right on cue. I thought MASH was different.
There was canned laughter though. Where does canned laughter sit in comedies in general? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I hate canned laughter.
Me too.
There is an option. I have to, on the actual DVDs of the show at home that I've got, you can...
What, of MASH?
Yes, of MASH. You can have... There's an audio choice where you can turn the canned laughter off, but sometimes you watch...
Can we have that button on our TV?
But then sometimes you watch it without the canned laughter and it
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
There you go. There you go. Imagine Fawlty Towers. Oh wow, have I let another one out of the bag?
Yes.
I have.
Yes, you
We're already
have.
up to- I'm going to let another one out of the
I
bag.
can't believe I did that. No, I'm ashamed.
So Fawlty Towers and MASH, how about we just take over the show, Tim? You just be quiet over
I've been
there.
asking that for years. Why can't someone else do this program? But where would
Give me your
Fawlty
notes.
Towers be without canned laughter though? It wouldn't. It would be awful.
I think it was more of a studio, more film sort of in a studio. I'm not.
It was a live. I suppose you're right. There's a difference between canned laughter and studio audience laughter.
Well, you think about the canned type laughter that's on a show like Friends. That's really different from the laughter that you might get on a show like Fawlty Towers. It just... Yeah, I can't stand.
What about Friends? Should Friends is not on our list of top 5.
I can't stand Friends.
What about Phoebe? She's funny.
No.
She's a bit ditzy, but yeah.
I like Friends.
So we're going to go back to Fawlty Towers in a minute, but let's go through some honourable mentions that probably possibly should be on there.
Away.
No more. We've given 3 of the 5 away. Hasn't been a good track record so far. We've got the Time Lord wanted us to throw in the Addams Family. Gilligan's Island.
Oh, that was
really?
classic.
The Munsters.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Happy Days. Happy Days is also on the honourable mentions list. Happy Days any good?
Yeah, I would say it is.
Is that the Chachi?
Yeah, that's where
the Chachi.
Chachi.
So what is a Chachi?
What is a Chachi?
I don't know.
Chachi's
That
one
was
of the
just-
characters.
Oh,
He's
is he?
Fonzie's cousin, I think. He's related to Fonzie.
And he ends up with Joni.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's how they had the spin-off show, Joni Loves Chachi.
Yeah.
Joni Loves Chachi was a show?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure it went the same way as Joey.
See, Tim, you're laughing already.
Let's get into the modern era a little bit more. Some honourable mentions for these shows. The Big Bang Theory.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
that's-
Zynga.
I actually
Never seen it myself.
Tim, I keep telling you need to watch this show.
Yeah, and you keep telling me there's a reason. Apparently, I'm like one of the characters.
Well, I
am
do think that Tim has Sheldon traits.
Which I don't know whether to be offended
Is he the
by.
one with Asperger's?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the sort of the nutty one.
He's the one that goes, Penny.
Penny, that's it,
Penny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he sounds like he's got some mental health issues. Yeah.
Yeah, kind
No,
of.
he just has a bit of social awkwardness at times. Only at times, Tim.
Is there anything good about this character?
No, there's a lots of good.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
he
He's
is
an
a
absolute
genius.
brilliant scientist, genius, rocket
is a
scientist
genius.
type. Yeah.
He's a genius.
In
He's
fact, he
never
thinks
tried.
rocket scientists are just
That's
dumb.
the part that reminds you of me, right?
Absolutely, Tim. The fact that you're a pure genius. Not the fact that, you might want to have your one little spot, and if anyone sits in your seat, you might get upset.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there will be
my
hell
spot.
to pay if that happens. Community and How I Met Your Mother, 30 Rock. These are are all sort of modern day shows that they're pretty good too. I've watched a lot of 30
Awesome
Rock.
shows.
Talk about those, Olivia, because they're your generation.
30 Rock.
Tina Fey, isn't it?
Yeah, is amazing. It's so quick and just as you think that they've done everything, then a blue man pops out and it's so random.
It's so totally random.
And
Please don't do that.
there's this one episode
I was trying to get Gen
where
Y
she's
on
having a really bad day and she just in the middle of everything she's like, I really want some ham. It's just great. It just
They've had some big stars in 30 Rock as well too,
Yeah,
haven't
massive.
they?
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey was in that.
yeah,
God.
she was.
I mean, just about every big Hollywood name's been in that show, I think.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Big question for you, Trace. What is the difference, and anyone really, what's the difference between British comedy and American comedy? And which one's better?
British comedy wins for me.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's a personal opinion, but for me, British comedy wins.
It's
hands
more
down.
understated, isn't it? More understated, more subtle.
I think we can relate to it more.
But then I think there are comedies that come out of the US that have a completely different brand of humour.
Like
Yes,
Two
you
and a
know-
Half Men.
Dare I
mention that?
And the bizarre thing about that for me is that the same people do
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang
yeah,
Theory
true.
that do Two and
The
a Half
humour.
Men,
Yeah.
and I can't stand Two and a Half Men.
Yeah.
Two and a Half Men is really a terrible show.
Yes.
It always
I think it
was.
improved
It
slightly
always
when
was.
Charlie Sheen left, actually. All right, shall we go back to the official top 5? Fawlty Towers, we've mentioned it a few times already. What makes Fawlty Towers such a classic? Only 8 episodes, I believe.
12.
8 or 12? 12 episodes,
12.
okay. There was a Series 1 and a Series 2. Absolutely. I've watched them 1,000 times each.
Why didn't they keep making it? Wasn't it successful?
It was a hugely. I mean,
Hugely
everybody knows
successful.
about Fawlty Towers.
John Cleese said he just didn't want to ruin a good thing.
Yeah, I reckon he was right. And
I wish they'd made one more though, because I love it to bits. It's
Yeah.
probably it's probably my favourite show
I
of all
think
time.
it's also it's over the top humour, but it's not, and it's also you cringe. You go, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. I can't believe he just slapped him on the head. Like you just go, oh my, yeah. It's funny because you just can't believe he just did that.
I love it when he pulls Manuel aside in one of the episodes, and Manuel's done something wrong, and he goes, "Manuel, let me explain," and then he pokes Manuel in the eye.
See, and you laugh, and you go, oh my gosh.
And Basil and Sybil, they were husband and wife, but there was this always they were ready to strangle each other, and
A typical British couple, really.
yeah.
And so many, I mean, it had a good mixture of slapstick and really just good written gags as well.
Yeah.
Like when you think of the moose on the head, when he has a whole conversation, the Major has a whole conversation with the moose.
Yeah.
And then there's a Waldorf
The
salad.
Waldorf salad, that's
Yeah.
just classic.
And then the episode where the Germans end up staying at the hotel, and there's the inevitable, no one's allowed to mention the war, and
And Matt,
then
your
some-
favourite line?
well, that's where the phrase "don't mention the wars" come from, and it ends up he tries not to mention it, and then he ends up doing he goes off about the Germans,
And you know what I find interesting is John Cleese said that he went through a period where he just didn't see it, not deliberately. He hadn't watched it for about 10 to 12 years, and then he was on a flight, and they put it on, probably for his benefit. And, he goes, and I was on the plane, and I saw it, and oh, how I laughed.
and how people probably laughed at it too, because it was in a different interview. He said he went through Germany, through an airport, and someone said to him, "John, don't mention the war."
Really?
Yeah, true.
Some more honourable mentions. What about The Cosby Show? Can any of you do the Cosby dance?
Tim can. I've seen Tim do the Cosby dance.
I was practicing it for tonight, the Cosby dance, and an office lady walked in and sort of raised her eyebrows and walked straight back out again. I had to go and explain that wasn't my normal dance. I was practicing Bill Cosby.
Don't worry, I set her straight later and told her it really is how Tim dances.
She'll never look at me the same way again. Australian comedies, the only one that comes to mind is Hey Dad. And unfortunately, with
There
recent
is an
events,
unfortunate story to that, yes.
And we won't talk about that. I wouldn't say it's a classic Australian comedy, but Kingswood Country.
Of
That was an
course.
Australian
that-
comedy.
yes.
Good call,
Ted,
Trace.
wasn't it? Ted
Ted
Bullpit.
Bullpit.
Ted Bullpit.
Yes.
Bloody mongrels.
It was bad.
And he was obsessed with his kids.
It's extremely offensive.
It is
nowadays.
offensive.
Yeah, it's
really
very
offensive.
racist. Very racist.
Well, I'd look at it and go, wow.
Yeah, they said they wouldn't be able to make it
I
now.
was going
because
to say,
could-
it makes you wonder how they got away with some of the comments.
They must have
made
got
on
complaints
that.
even at the time,
well,
you'd think.
probably.
Kingswood Country. Well done, Trace, bringing that one back into this spotlight. And I love the 80s comedies. I don't know why. There's all
You
those...
love everything 80s.
I do love everything 80s. That's right. That's why my hair's
in that
permed.
decade.
What about the Golden Girls? Now, I have got a really bad confession to make, and I'm not
You're
exaggerating
not alone.
with this
I like
confession.
it too.
No, it's not just liking them, Matt. This goes a little bit further, I'm afraid.
Oh my God! Don't
No.
tell me he's got all the DVDs at home.
It's
Well,
worse.
It's still only 8:30, Tim.
Oh my God!
It started 3 years ago, and
Oh, no.
I don't know why this happened, and I don't know how exactly. Maybe it's because I'm such a lonely person, but I started watching them before I went to bed every night. And for the past 3 years, I can honestly say there's probably not more than
not too
5
late
to
to
10
stop.
days,
Where you haven't
nights where I
watched it.
have not watched it before I've went to bed. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to click play and keep watching it. I feel like I'm part of their family. That's the honest truth.
I think there's a lot of people out there who could understand that level of obsession, Tim.
I don't know if it's obsession, it's comfort for me.
Yeah.
What would a psychiatrist say about that?
Obsession.
Yeah.
My 80-year-old father-in-law likes to tape it, so...
When I saw it as a little kid, I thought that the character of Sophia. I said to my mum one day, I said, "Gee, she reminds me of my grandmother."
Exactly.
She's such a cranky old
She's
woman.
a crotchety old bag, isn't she? And she's so interfering.
Yeah.
What's that catchphrase she says? Think of
Pussycat.
it. Sicily back in... Is that
Picture it.
Picture
Sicily,
it. That's it.
1943.
Yeah. And then tells a big story.
You had Dorothy, Blanche, and
Blanche is such a...
she's.
Am I allowed to say slut on the radio?
Oh, you just
You
did.
just did.
Okay.
She's a bit man happy.
Delay. Yeah.
She's a bit man
I
happy.
remember an episode of that where I think, what's the one that looks like a bloke, the tall one?
Dorothy.
Dorothy was in
Arthur.
the kitchen,
Yeah.
and,
She's
and she
handsome.
was
She
making,
doesn't look like a man.
making dessert, and she's looking in the fridge, and she goes, "Blanche, have you seen the whipped cream?" She goes, "Oh, hang on, darling, it's in my bedroom."
and Betty White was the sort of the
Yeah, she was
the
gross.
dumb one in it, and
She's a legend.
and
Betty
she's
White
funny,
now.
and she's funny in Hot in
Yeah.
Cleveland. She's just scene stealing nearly every time.
She just knows. She's a real pro. She knows
where
what
did
she's
she
doing.
live, Tim? Where did she grow up? Oldsworth or something? Oldfield?
Oh, in St. Olaf.
St. Olaf.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, I'm glad we got a conversation about the Golden Girls. Let's go back to the top 5. I've got Claire Dunphy as a character on which show?
Modern Family.
So Modern Family, that's what makes it so good. Everyone keeps telling me, Tim, you would love Modern Family.
You would
Apparently,
love it.
it really does depict a little slice of life that we all have. Is that true?
No.
Well, I guess
I've
it's
never
maybe
watched
not that
it.
we all have, but it's not just your standard 2.5 children, and it's not a really dysfunctional sort of family setup either. It's they say their lines and they act it out, but then once or twice through the show, the character will sit on the lounge and look directly into the camera.
Yeah, like they're being interviewed.
Like that, yeah, and talk about what's going to happen or what's just
Documentary style.
happened. But there's only a snippet of that.
All the characters are so different and unique. Like, they've really covered sort of like all the typical stereotypes of people who could possibly exist in one show.
In one family, or even one
in one family.
So do you recognise anyone from your family in the show?
I've never thought about that.
Actually, Claire reminds me a bit of myself in her sort of controlling,
Is that the sexy Colombian?
organisation.
No, I'm the sexy Colombian.
no, that's Tracy's the hot young Colombian hubby's age. No, Claire's like the mum, I guess, with the 3 kids, but you know, she's very organised and very controlling, but you know, she does it out of love for the children and doesn't realise she's really being that controlling, and
that reminds you a bit of yourself.
I see a lot of, not totally, but a lot of bits of Claire I can see in myself, which kind of, yeah.
Who would you be? You'd be the smart girl, Illyra.
The one with the cello.
Plays all the musical instruments, wants to do all of this. Yeah.
Maybe.
Now, I don't want to have left
Alex.
anything off tonight. There's a few. I want to mention Monty Python.
Oh, yeah.
I want to mention Blackadder, which I adore, absolutely adore. It's particularly the World War II series of that.
British
Was that World War
comedy.
One?
British.
It was
World War One. I
yeah.
apologise.
Oh,
absolutely. They
no.
should have done another one in World War
And
II.
Hugh
actually.
Laurie was in a lot of those. Do you
He was
realise
from
that? And
House.
he
Yeah.
was
I've actually got him at home. I've got
fantastic. He
them all
was
at home.
so
Yeah.
good.
English one.
Yeah.
Have we mentioned Are You Being Served?
that's just
brilliant.
classic.
Yes.
I'm free.
Name free, and dare we say that Mrs. Slocum mentioned numerous references to her cat.
pussy.
Yeah, that. Well, yeah.
No, there you go. No, it was a very good show. Very.
And the other one in that sort of genre in that era would be The Goodies. That fits in really well with all those British
It does,
comedy
doesn't
shows.
it? Yeah.
I've got one at home. Who remembers?
show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've got a. Is it a lower low?
Yeah,
Oh, hello.
yeah. I will say this only once.
I just said it's only one.
Mr. Bean is interesting because it's almost completely mine.
I know, but some of it is funny and some of it it's not.
I thought Mr. Bean was the most mean-spirited little character, isn't he?
was. I
And he
mean-
gets meaner and meaner as it
I
goes
mean, who
along.
could headbutt the Queen and get away with it?
Oh, he only does that accidentally. And then one that's not on the top 5, which I think is a disgrace personally, but it just didn't make it there tonight, is the British version of The Office. And the American version to a lesser extent, but I think the British version of The Office, and you haven't seen it,
Never
Michelle,
seen
you're
it.
coming over to my place to watch this 'cause I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
excited for you to see it. It's faultless. Every line, every scene, the way it's shot, every word, every bit of acting, it is flawless. And it's like Fawlty Towers, they didn't make very much, they only
I've got
made
very
2
high
series.
expectations after your
You
It is
won't be
review.
disappointed.
Really
You cannot be
good.
disappointed.
Yeah.
British comedy shows, they didn't tend to make an awful lot. Like, they make 5 or 6 per year or series, and then they'd sort of stop for a while, and then they'd make more.
And we need to mention our final top 5 for the night. Can we do a drum roll? It's very predictable, but let's do a drum roll.
I love this
Seinfeld.
To a degree, yes.
Has to be in the
I'm
top
sorry,
5.
I
doesn't it?
really
the
do.
show about nothing.
I love George Costanza.
Me too, because he's unapologetically evil.
Exactly.
Like, he just doesn't care what other people
No.
think. He's so selfish.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the episodes I always remember is when his fiance died from licking the cheap envelopes.
Or the
He
soup
was
Nazi.
pleased because he didn't have to dump her, pretty much.
That's right.
There's one episode of Seinfeld I remember, and it was the one where they go to the soup kitchen,
Yeah, the
and
soup
then there's the
Nazi.
soup Nazi.
No soup for you. That's pretty
That was
classic.
horrible.
I can't. So both of you think George is your favourite character,
Oh,
right?
No, Kramer's my favourite
Kramer's your
character.
favourite
George is
character.
mine.
Yeah.
George is yours. Who's your favourite character in Seinfeld? Matt?
Well, I actually, this is probably something you thought you'd never hear. I actually didn't really like it that much.
Oh wow!
There's only
we
a couple of episodes that I'm like,
couldn't get into.
no.
Wow.
Well, I didn't like
That's
Seinfeld himself.
And I
like
think most people are quite agreed on that, that Jerry Seinfeld could
Even
not
Jerry
act.
Seinfeld
No.
agrees on that. He
No,
He
admits
was
he
not
was the
very
weak
good
link.
in that show.
No.
Yeah, he was.
I found him to be irritating and annoying,
Yeah.
but it was when the other characters were there, it was fine.
Yeah, and I think it worked so well because of the
Other characters,
Mm.
yeah.
Has it dated, Tracy, Seinfeld? Because some comedies are good in their time, and that was a real slice of 90s living.
It was, I agree.
And has it dated? But it's
I
running.
think it's still just as funny now as it was.
Yeah.
And maybe even more so because what is Elaine wearing and why does she have such big hair? Like, it's
and
even
the shoulder pads still. She's still
some
wearing
of
shoulder
those
pads.
dresses. There's this
Oh.
period, I don't even know what season it is, where she's actually pregnant and they decide
In real life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in real life. I think she might have had more than one baby throughout the course of the show. Anyway, and rather than let her go on maternity leave or whatever, she just wears these massive dresses and always stands behind a bench.
Wow.
And it's like big shoulder pads, floral.
See, women notice these
dresses.
things. I have watched it many times. I've never noticed what she
go
wore
back-
too
go
much,
back
to be
to
honest.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
And
And
Elaine's
Jerry
actually my
and
favourite
his
character,
jeans
though.
that don't meet his shoes, so you always see sock. Like, that's very 90s to see. So I think
still
it's
dress like
funnier
that.
now.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You know what that just reminded me of when you were talking about the hiding the pregnancy was The Nanny.
Oh yeah.
Because they did
With
a similar,
Cece.
they did a
She
similar
just
she was
become
the
She went to a nut house. Yeah.
That's right.
That was another.
Big coats and
That was one of the. That's one of the few American shows that's genuinely funny because there were some of the gags they used to pull in that were just. The Niles was always horrible to see, but it was always so well put.
Do you know what,
together.
Matt? That's how I officially learnt the American meaning of fanny.
Really?
From Vanelli. Because it's in the song at the beginning.
Yeah,
she was out on her fanny, and I used to be quite shocked.
Backside, yeah. But I was going to say one of the other. There is only like one other American comedy show that's still good today, like some of the material in it. I'm surprised that probably not even on that top 5 list. I was going to mention I Love Lucy, but
yeah, that should be there. It's been fantastic discussion tonight about the top 5 TV comedies of all time. What do our listeners think, though? Do they agree with us, or do they think we've completely botched for top 5? I still think The Office and Who's the Boss should have been there, no doubt about it. You can give us a call tonight on 6585 3456 is our telephone number. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.